Hey everybody, welcome back to My Wings of Refuge. I'm really excited today, y'all. Last week's video, I gave you a tour of my little Back to Eden garden that is down in front of my house. And I got a lot of responses from it. Not so much on YouTube, but a lot of people reached out to me asking questions. Some people wanted to know, how did you get started with Back to Eden? What should I do now to prepare for the fall or next spring for planting season? Or, you know, how long have you been going? How long did it take to do this? And so I wanted to take a moment today and just show you what you can do now to prepare for next year. However, there are some things you could plant right now that you probably still have enough time for it to produce this year. And so that is what we're going to do today. I have just enough space still in the food forest out back that is still very undeveloped. And so what we're going to do today is go from beginning to end on how you can get started. So the first thing you see here is probably my menagerie of boxes. So when you're developing an area that has a lot of grass or weed cover, and the area we're going to be in today has a lot of weed cover, so we're going to need some boxes. So I have an amazing friend who happened to have some of these huge heavy-duty boxes, and I was able to go and get them from her to use for this project. And the great thing about these boxes is, one, size, but two, look, you don't see a lot of print or a lot of color. So that is one of the things we're going to be looking for. And since these are so thick, they're going to be great because there is a lot of weeds down where we're going to go to plant today. And so one of the first things we want to do with any boxes is get all the tape off. If you have boxes that are full color like this, and it doesn't have to be white, but any color, then you really don't want to use those because you don't want any of that ink, dye, or anything like that leaching into your garden. So this box will not be used. This box I will burn and use it for wood ash. We'll start a fire with it, fire starter, however you want to. But this box will not be used for our garden. Okay, so these boxes will. So let me just show you this small box. Tiny bit of print here is okay. You're probably not going to find a box with nothing on it, but labels must go. Okay, labels must go. This one here, you can check and see. A lot of times they'll come off easy. That's great. But how many times do you have those Amazon boxes that has this black tape on it, that has all of the strings in it that is so hard to get off? Well, let me just tell you what works great for me. When you have these boxes with, and it'll work with any tape, but I love to use it for the Amazon tape. When I have boxes like this, I simply fill a container with water or lay them out in the lawn or on the driveway, let it rain on them. You can also use a water hose. Today, I actually have this container here, and I'm just going to lay it in the water while we work on some other projects. So I have this box soaking already, and we're going to deal with this next. In the meantime, I'm going to put this one right in the water. So I had this box soaking in that same tub, and I just want to show you how easy it is. It just peels right off. Ta-da! These are now ready to go. So if you have tape that is coming off, rip it off. That is fine. But when you have tape that isn't, even this clear tape on here, soak it in water. Either soak it in water or spray it with the water hose, or let it rain on it. and these two will come right off. Now don't forget, if these dry back, if they've been hosed off or rained on, and you don't pull the labels off real soon and they dry out, they will re-stick. Okay, so that box had garlic in it, and I've got garlic all over me. I smell like pizza. Or garlic bread, Italian food. Okay, now I'm hungry. So if you cannot get this white tape off and you don't have the option of wetting it or soaking it, another option is to just cut it off. So here you see a seam. Almost every box will have a seam, and most of the time they will come apart very easily. This is my garlic box. So you just peel that seam apart and you're halfway there. So in the winter time, or with low weeds and just a little grass, or as things are dying back, you might choose to use some construction paper. And so this comes on a big roll, and you can literally just unroll it just like paper and cut it wherever you need and lay it down. And that will also help keep your weeds from growing in, and anything else that is underneath will die back. So when I picked up these boxes from my friend, they were huge. They would not even fit in my vehicle. So, and they wouldn't even collapse enough to fit in there. So I actually was able to use my handy dandy saw and was able to cut these down to fit in my car. So that is why these are cut. But here I want to make sure that, again, the tiny print will be okay. Here I want to remove these labels. Some of these labels simply come off easily, and so when they do, that's all there is to it. But if they're not coming off easy for you, and it's too big to soak in your little tub, you can always lay these out in your driveway, on a patio. If it's going to rain, let it rain on them really good. They will come right off. And if you don't have that, you can also just take a water hose and spray them down. This one is ready to go. This box is gigantic, and I'm actually going to cut it down a little. So along with these big, huge, thick boxes come some staples. I don't often have staples in my boxes, but when you have staples, you want to deal with them because I don't want these in my garden. Okay, so once you get this cut off, you want to discard this part completely. We're just going to get rid of it. That one was easy. So I have all of the labels off, I have all of the tape off, and this huge giant box is now ready. See there? Here's our trash can all full of all of our labels and stickers and all of our staples. We did good, y'all. So we have all of our boxes loaded here on the trailer, and we're going to take the side-by-side back to the food forest to get started. But as you see here, the ones on the top here are still wet. That is actually perfect for right now. So don't feel like you cannot use wet boxes to get started. And if you're planning to plant your garden now, or if you're going to be doing this even in the fall and you're going to be planting your garden right away, I would highly recommend you soaking your boxes just like this. If you're going to be preparing your bed now or this fall for spring planting, by all means I would use these drier, thicker, heavier boxes because they will end up breaking down on their own. So here we go. So we are just inside the food forest here. You'll see it is incredibly weedy. This is the section that, if you remember in my original tour, that it was still totally shaded. Well, my husband has been cutting a lot of trees. You can see the dense forest beyond here. This is an area we have saved and have not developed anything to this point. So today what we're going to do, you'll see the really heavy weeds through here, and I'm not going to cut these weeds or anything. So this is probably what you would be looking at in the fall when you would come in and ready to prep your garden for the spring. So I'm literally going to lay my cardboard right here. This is barn cleanings from the sheep barn. So here we go. We've got all of the barn cleanings in, and luckily the sun is going down just enough now. It's not quite so hot, and we're ready to get planting. So Charles Dowding has a method of gardening that he calls no dig. I'm actually going to incorporate no dig to this bed here. Reason being is this whole area we have discovered as we put in the food forest that it's a little low and it holds a lot of water. But also this used to be a huge forest, and so part of that problem is there are tree stumps and there are roots everywhere, and right now those roots are still here and very much, you know, green. They're hard to dig in and plant something. So over time our cardboard is going to disintegrate and it's all going to be part of the soil anyway. So for this little garden, I'm actually going to plant right into this manure. So I just wanted to explain what I'm doing here so that you have a clear understanding. So here I have an eggplant. Just gonna we are gonna come back and top this all off still with our wood chips. We're just making this part of our soil. Here I have some cucumbers. I'm going to put this kind of close to the fence, so as it grows it can attach right to the fence. Another eggplant. Here I have some okra. Another okra. Some squash. And last but not least is another squash. So now we're ready for our wood chips. So everything in here is mostly leaves and small limbs. So I'm going to do a light layer of this first. There's a snake. Okay, I have some fish emulsion here, and I'm actually going to give a good dose to each one of these plants. Reason being is these plants here came from the store. I did not start these from seeds, and so they are drug addicts. They are used to commercial fertilizers and they're used to getting fed a lot and often, and I'm not going to be using any of that. So I will support their addiction with some fish emulsion, which will make them very happy. You can't burn them with this. Okay, So this time I'm going to use a fork. I like to use my hands, but not this time. This is our wood chips that has been in a pile back here, and it's rained on some, so it's broken down a little bit. They're very black, but don't forget, fresh wood chips are fantastic. You can use aged as well, but these are some that we cut here on the property, actually not too long ago, but we've had a lot of rain and a lot of sun back here. And so don't forget, if you're cutting and making your own wood chips, you can literally cut them from a green tree with green leaves and run them through your chipper, and you want the leaves and the bark and the tree and every part of it. And so we've already used some leaves through here, so now we're going to add this wood chips. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope this will help someone out there who is considering putting in a back to Eden garden. Now, don't forget that we started off in really horrible conditions here, and it's in July in the south. And so, but I will bring you back in the near future and let you know how this bed also is going. In the meantime, I'm going to show you just a few things growing out here in the food forest. And y'all have a great week. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. See you next week, y'all. Stay safe out there, and I hope you had a fantastic 4th of July. I've had wonderful barbecue, and I'm about to go have some banana pudding. So this is one of the strawberry patch areas. We have several out here. This, we didn't get it quite as thick in the wood chips as we needed to, so you might see a few weeds shining through. This is a small strawberry bed here. Like I said, we have many strawberry beds here, but these started shooting off runners in our walkway here, and so we literally put a little tray of some soil there, and we'll let those root. And if you look closely, you'll see they already have strawberries producing. So we will simply transplant these at a later date. This is our cucumber area, and it's doing really well. If you look closely, you'll see we have cucumbers. Then this area here, we have more strawberries, blueberries, and on through, which our walkways are very weedy, but the rest looks great. We have tomatoes here in the Back to Eden garden in the food forest. This is one of several melons that has jumped over into our walkway, but looking good. We actually have several watermelons out here. Some of our rhubarb, more rhubarb. Planted in with some strawberries. And there's another one right back here. On this side of the fence, up against the fence, we have our sunflowers planted. They're really close to the cucumbers. And for some reason, it appears we have a corn. Possibly a field corn there. Oh well, it's growing. Here's our zucchini. And we've actually already picked zucchini off of this one. These watermelons were actually planted later. My very first currant. I am so excited to have currants. Here's our potatoes. They're almost ready to start digging, and these were planted. There's cardboard underneath, and then there's actually hay on top, and they're just planted right in the manure and hay, and so they've actually done rather well. Instead of growing up really tall, you can see they got really tall, and then they laid over to the side in the walkway area, but they're doing great.